What's going on? My name is Megan. I am the CEO and founder of Valkyrie Fitness Nutrition. I'm currently going to do the training in my living room because I'm watching my little puppy dog got hurt recently. So keeping an eye on her. But let's dive in. So a little bit about me. My team and I, we help military, first responders, healthcare workers, essentially help them with their fitness goals. It can range anywhere from losing weight to actually gaining weight, improving strength, performance, VO2 max, passing PT tests, getting into the job. Ultimately, our job is exactly that, is to help give them a customized solution to help them exceed their fitness standard because, they've been struggling for a really long time. Probably watching this video because you are in the military. Now, if you are a woman in the military, most military women have a bad relationship with food. I've sat across from a lot of women who are, military, been in for like 5, 10, 15, almost 20 years. And most of what they say is, yeah, I've, cut out a lot of stuff, especially to make weight. Like what the plus side is they are switching the standards, which is honestly a key component for women. As you know, your weight doesn't always equal performance. We do have women who are just bigger, but they still pass their PT test, and at the end of the day, that's the most important: is can you perform for the profession, right? Unfortunately, with the military standards, for a really long time, it was height, waist ratio, how much do you weigh? Is it according to your height? And a lot of people don't realize too, like, if you are someone who's muscular, you like the scale will you might not weigh like 130 pounds. Like, it just is what it is. So let's dive in. The purpose of this training today is to dive into and to help you guys shift your mindset, because that's the biggest issue we see with our military members is when they start a program, maybe like this, a lot of times we have to kind of push them in a way that's different than what they're used to, right? Because they are, honestly, they're no stranger to working out. They understand like the standards are increasing. Like, I'm sure you guys all get it. Like, you know, depending on when you're watching this, the administration is really big on how you look. Is your gut hanging over your belt? Which again, like, because you are in the military, you should ultimately hold a specific standard. We know that's important. But this scares a lot of people because they have a lot of years in, and they want to make sure like they can retire out. So we understand that the standards are increasing, and there are a ton of resources. The problem that the military has, right? If you have the Artemis program, H2F, I think the other one's like Warrior or something. I don't know. There's a bunch of resources and free programs within the military, which I always tell people. If you're able to use it, great. If it doesn't work for you, which happens to most of our military, is a lot of them try using the nutritionists. A lot of them try using the free programs, and it just never works out. So, part one, really quick, your mindset around food is holding you back. So, what we typically see is you guys are cutting foods out. You're doing like fasting. You are dropping. We get a lot of low calories, like under 1200. And what that's doing is it's not only affecting your performance, but it's also affecting your metabolism long term. Whoops, long term. Right? So if you don't understand that there are consequences to undereating, and as women and diet culture and all those things, like, they don't really put that out there. They don't really talk about it, right? It's going to affect your metabolism. It's going to affect your hormones. It's going to affect like your hair, skin, nails. It's going to affect performance. It's going to affect muscle and plethora of bone health. Like, there's a lot of downsides to under eating for a really long time. And the problem that we see is in the military, like, women oftentimes lean towards those because it worked, in their younger years. And as you get older, our bodies change. And ultimately, what starts to happen is you start to see other health issues start popping up. And the military, unfortunately, does a really shitty job in giving you guys the resources to help you get past that. And what we find is a lot of you guys, right, you have to find information, right? And that's why we do work with a lot of military women who are just kind of sick and tired of trying to figure things out on their own, or try to go through these services that are just not good enough, right? So the biggest thing I want you guys to really focus on is that mindset around food. So how do we start shifting our mindset? So food, right? It ultimately is the fuel that you need to perform. It's going to help you get stronger. It's going to help you move better. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I used to believe the 1200 calorie diet was like the way to go. I would drop a bunch of weight, and what I saw in the process was a body composition I wasn't happy with. I was getting skinny, but I had no energy. I didn't feel good. I kind of had that hungover feeling all the time because I was under fueling my body. And well, the more I started to learn, right? So over the years, I've invested in, getting certifications, going through courses, putting a lot of time and effort in the education side to make sure I understood the science behind nutrition. Because what we find is, like I said, all of these things are tied together with nutrition. And if you don't understand food being fuel, calories, right? That's basically what it is, right? Calories are the fuel, right? Your body needs it for everything between breathing, blinking, thinking, your heart beating, your stomach working, like all the things that are going on in your body that you don't think about because it's not equal to working out. Your calories are needed for that. So your body is using, right, throughout the day, whether you're sitting behind a desk or you're actually moving, you're burning calories no matter what. And the downside with a lot of these under eating, right? Sometimes you're not fueling your body for what it needs just to normally function. So for me, right now, me sitting here, I weigh, let's say, like 136 pounds. Okay. Currently eat roughly between 2,000 and 2,200 calories. And you're probably asking yourself, Megan, how do you do that? Because I shifted my mindset. I stopped believing that I needed to be smaller. I stopped believing that I needed to starve myself. And I started to say, hey, there's education behind all of this, right? So if I understand why food isn't dangerous, while eating more carbs isn't a bad thing, ultimately my body will respond in the correct manner, right? So you can't be afraid to eat more food. And that's a really hard thing for a lot of my military members because we're so programmed to believe that we need to do like we did in basic. And if you're watching this, right, I want you to think back to when you went through basic training. You probably lost like 20 pounds or more because, right, you were starving. Because what did they do? You sat down, chugged water, you went through your quick meal, and then you chugged another glass of water. So you felt really full. And you did that 3 times a day, and then sometimes they would give you MREs, right? Which are not great for you. So, right, you go through basic, you lose a ton of weight, you're starving, you're eating MREs like maybe once that day or that week, and then you're also exercising, right? A ton. Now, the older we get, it's not that our metabolism changes because it doesn't. Our metabolism doesn't shift until like you're in your 60s. So everyone says that my metabolism is slow. It's just they're just not as active. So, that's what I think. That's not true. Our metabolism doesn't get any different until we're older in our later years, and you just don't need to eat less food. It's just because you're just not as active. So people don't know how to operate essentially when they're not exercising for like 4 hours a day to doing absolutely nothing and maybe PTing for like an hour, right? So you're going from like, I mean, I remember we were exercising for 4+ hours sometimes. I did a couple academies. The one academy, I swear to God, we were cooking for 12+ hours of exercise. I don't even know how I survived. And I guess how much weight I lost. A ton. It's not healthy, right? Not healthy. Especially for women. Our bodies operate much differently than men. So if you're trying to get all this information from your male counterparts, they're going to tell you stuff that's not going to be helpful long term. To cut calories, I just sweat it out, go for really long runs, blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, cool, man. That's great for you. Your body, your hormone function, all that stuff is completely different. Not to mention, doing this, right? Not eating, exercising a ton, starving, working, only eating a couple times a day under 1,200 calories, because that's basically what we were doing, even in basic training. I can't imagine that I ate anything more than 1,200 calories on some days. What happened, right? Lost my period. That's not healthy. Okay. Again, not healthy. So if you're losing your period, you are tired all the time, right? No energy, brain fog, all this stuff is not good. So if that's the way you're resorting to losing weight while you're in the military to make weight, to lose inches around your waist, it's not good, because guess what? It's not going to help you with body recomposition, because that's what they're shifting over to now. They're no longer doing like how much you weigh, how tall you are, right? Now they're worried about the waist ratio, which is body recomp, right? And the thing with body recomp is you can't sweat off, 3 to 5 inches off your waist in a week. And that's the biggest problem we're seeing right now. Is people were doing all this stuff, cutting things. They have a bad mindset around food. You guys were like literally, I don't even know how some people are doing it, but they would do that and then they would perform their PT test. You can't do that. You have to shift your mindset around food, and you have to understand that in order to shift your body composition, to maintain your job, to not get removed out of the military, whatever the case may be, you have to shift and change thoughts around food and understand that cutting things out is no longer going to work. Okay? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I know there are resources with nutritionists with the military, but it's very generic, right? They're going to tell you just eat protein. They're going to hand you the new pyramid. They're going to be like, look at the pyramid, the upside down pyramid, whatever, they're changing and doing whatever nowadays, stuff that's not important. They're going to tell you eat protein, eat veggies, and then make sure, you exercise for like 30 to 60 minutes a day. And you guys are going to say, no shit. And then that's what they're going to leave you with. It's not that's not going to help you. For most of you, if you're under 1,200 calories, you need to start what we call reverse dieting. Okay? And that's increasing your calories over time. What's going to happen with that? You might see the scale go up, all right? So scale may increase due to water retention. Could be anything. Could be just like the amount of food you're eating, more sodium. But you have to understand that the scale going up shouldn't bother you anymore with the new standards, because what is going to happen, and I tell our clients this all the time, is you have to, when dealing with body recomp, you have to be okay with seeing the scale tick up, right? It's like a roller coaster. And once you get on the ride, what happens? In order for the roller coaster to actually start working, right? You click in, put your little harness in, tick, 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 and it ticks you up, right? Tick, 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 till you get to the very top. When you get to the very top, what happens, right? You finally tip over, and then what? Things start working the correct way. That is the exact thing that we have to like cram into some of our military clients' heads all the time is, yes, the scale's going up. It's not the end of the world. We're doing it in a way so that way you can ride everything down, right? The scale starts going down. You start losing inches. You start feeling better. Your energy levels improve. Your performance goes up. And in order to do that, you can't just focus on the numbers any longer. What you need to do is you need to understand like things need to switch. You need to change your mindset. You need to start eating more food, because once you do that in the process, right? Once you start eating more, it's a lot harder for your body to hold on to fat. It knows to burn things. You start adding muscle. When you start adding muscle, right? This is what I was telling clients the other day. A muscle body, like a muscle mommy body. Muscle mommies, right? I'm just gonna use that as an example. They eat a ton of food because they like their body. Say their body, all right, needs it. At rest, someone that's more muscular. Let's say I'm sitting next to another female that weighs 136 pounds. Now, she never worked out a day in her life. I work out, let's say, 4 to 5 times a week, right? Whose body do you think requires more energy at rest? Mine. right? Because my muscles are like repairing. I'm sitting here, and naturally, my body just needs more fuel throughout the day. So that's my thought process on things too. You have to understand like it's okay to eat more food, like, and stop being so programmed into believing that under eating is the way. It's not. It's gonna keep you stuck for a really long time. And let me see if I can find some pictures really quick. Hold on. All right, I like to use this. Oh, get out of this. These two pictures as an example. Now, if you look at the two, you want to guess that there's maybe like a 5 to 10 pound difference, right? Most people would think it's more. They would think like usually what people think is like I weigh like 160 pounds here. I weigh like 130, 140. But I weigh like around like 130, 132 here maybe. And then I weigh close to like 140 to 145 here. So what I'm trying to tell people is at the end of the day, your body, like this body here, requires much more energy than this one does, right? But there's more muscle, there's more definition. I'm lifting heavier weights. So at rest, my body's going to need more. Let me see if I can find this thing again. So ultimately, and again, this will just be part one. Your physical fitness at the end of the day comes down to your nutrition, right? A lot of you guys in the military, you're exercising pretty consistently, unless you have rank, right? My high ranking, you guys have to PT on your own, which makes it really hard. A lot of you have different, admin work to do. Sometimes you're bringing work home. Sometimes you're being called in. You're in a lot of meetings. And for you, like making sure, like for you guys, because you're no longer like lower enlisted or lower officer or anything like that, you have to be able to make sure you're making your own time. And we see a lot of women who are like E5s and above for this very reason, because they just physically are trying to like manage, 30 plus people. Sometimes we have commanders, and then, we have majors and stuff like that. And it's just, they just want a solution and they don't want to guess. So, anyway, for you guys, what I'm trying to get at is if you are someone who has been struggling with nutrition, and now what's changing in the fitness space with you guys is the body recomp is more important rather than just a number on the scale. You have to be okay with eating more food, changing your mindset around things. Like, I'll give you guys an example on what I eat. So, like, I normally aim for like 150 grams of protein. Let's see, probably like 220 to 250 grams of carbs. Fats, roughly like 70 to like 80 grams. Okay. Now, for most of you, you'd freak out, right? If you saw 220 grams of carbs. So, what we have to do for many of our military members is slowly bring them up. I'm going to pull up a couple. Hold on. Let me see if I can find a few. All right. So, I'm going to show you Vicky. She actually just got done with us. She was, I think it was a communications officer. She's a major. And same thing, like, she was like, honestly, like, so big with her job. And then she has 2 kids on top of that. So, you can see, right? If we look at this, she's eating 1,600 calories per day. Her goal was more like body recomp and performance. But when she first stepped in, she was under eating, like really bad, like probably under 1,200 calories. One big thing we focused on was improving her protein intake, and she was like super consistent. Like when I tell you, like like I always love really, really good clients who are consistent. One, because one, they want to see results, but two, they come in with like, trying to get these results. So she came in, and not only did that help her, but it helped her with other areas of her life, right? And she is a Marine, right? So what do the Marines know, right? Work hard, exhaust yourself, push yourself to the limit. And she's like, it just doesn't work anymore with, my life, my kids, with my job. She's like, I'm back to back meetings. And for her, like she needed to learn essentially how to lose fat, put on muscle at the same time. So we worked through that with her, and like I said, she was eating like close to 1,700 calories. And I told her before she got done, I was like, listen, like you could eat more, creep yourself up like over the next couple weeks. So I told her to get to like over 2,000 calories, probably like in the next couple of probably by like end of February, March, April, I think I told her. And I was like, then if you want to drop a little bit of fat, like you notice you want to lose some, then drop down, right? So what we're doing is we're teaching women that like you don't need to starve yourself to lose fat, to lose weight, to get results. So she lost weight. She lost like a bunch of inches. We actually helped her. She health had improved. She was having headaches every morning. Those went away. She stopped taking like, ibuprofen every morning. And it all came down to the nutrition. So it's a really big factor with most people, and nutrition is going to play like 80 to 90% of your results. So when people suck at nutrition, that's why you're not seeing changes in, like, if you're going to the gym every day and you're like, dude, why does my body look the same thing? Like the same? It's your nutrition that needs to improve. So it comes down to a couple things. And this is what we do with clients, right? If this is something you're interested in too, one, obviously subscribe to my page. But two, you can book a consultation with us. There should be a link underneath this video. And we basically, the purpose of a consultation too, it's to see if we're a good fit. Our job, like if you want to figure out what we do, who we are, keep watching our YouTube videos. But if you're serious and you want to make sure like, hey, we can definitely help you, book a consultation. That's the purpose of those. So there will be a link below and a phone number. You can text the word coach. But anyway, 80 to 9% of your results are going to be your nutrition. And the only way to know where you start at is to like log your food for, I always say 3 to 5 days. That way you can figure out your gaps. That's literally what we do. We figure out everyone's nutritional gaps. Once you find your gaps, you have to figure out like, are you under eating or overeating? And here's the big thing with most people, like the reason why a lot of people can't lose weight, it's because they're under eating for 3 to 5 days out of the week, and then they overindulge for like 2 to 3 days. So they think that they're like not eating enough, and then they go over to a point where they're putting weight on. And that's a very common thing we see in the military, because during the week, if you're at work, it's easy to get into like a good routine, and then on the weekends people like binge and stuff. So you need to figure out if you're eating over or under, and then from there, that's where you can kind of pinpoint and see where you need to go. Like Vicky, for example, we realized, girl, you're under eating, so we slowly, like over time, build up her calories. So now she's close to 1,700. I told her, keep going up. If it was the reverse, like say she's eating like 25 to 2,800 calories a day and she can't get the weight off, then that's when we would trickle down. It's always easier when people overeat. The biggest issue we see is everyone under eats like most of the time, right? So you have to figure that out first. And like I said, the biggest thing for most of my military members is you need to shift your mindset around food. That's basically what's holding you back. Once you break past that mindset, it's going to take some time. That's why a lot of people work with us, because we help with the accountability, the support, the mindset coaching. And like I said, if it is something that you're interested in, please like book a consultation. But before you do that, just keep looking through. Make sure like, we are someone that can help you. We do have a bunch of client interviews on my page as well. But hopefully this was helpful and in a way that's going to help you understand why you're stuck, why the military keeps you kind of stuck, because it's unfortunately, there are a lot of things that there's pros with in the military. This is definitely one of the cons. They don't, as much as they talk about physical fitness standards, they don't really help anyone stay physically fit or ready, just because it falls to the wayside after basic training. All right. Stay safe out there, and let us know if you need any help.